So Pete, how much are these oaks paying you to wear their shirts tonight on the show? You Suzuki branded.
I am. No, but what a pleasure. Eh? We're busy with the Celeria launch training, so lots of fun.
Yeah.
I literally made it here just in time to put my microphone on.
I was actually prepared to do the show without you tonight because it's raining, which means people can't drive in Pretoria.
No, absolutely. No, for sure.
Listen, Pete, yes, I've just been down to the Western Cape. I've just come back from a trip down there with the Footpeg Diaries team. Boy, it's unbelievably beautiful down there.
You can see why I want to move there, eh?
I can see why you want to move there because it looks amazing.
Yeah.
But I won't be able to live there, really.
Why is that?
I don't know if people up here in Gauteng know this, but they actually switch off the internet at 10 o'clock at night. The restaurants only stay open until 8:30. So I don't know much.
Now you know why it's called the Mother City, eh?
Yes.
Because it takes 9 months to do anything around there.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a live and interactive show, so please, I see that Miranda says the Western Cape rules. Thank you very much. That's how quick it is. It's live. You can talk to us. We can talk to you. If you're watching now, please do us a favor and hit the share button so that more people can join us. We'll have a lekker talk, and trust me, tonight we're going to have lots of fun. We've got a great lineup for you. Okay, Pete, are you ready to get rolling?
Yep, absolutely.
All right. This is this week's news. Okay, so Peter, the first story in tonight's news, we've discussed this quite a bit when manufacturers have great months and record months, and I thought that even though it was last month and we're already halfway through Feb, I think it's important to mention Mahindra's record month in January.
Yeah, so for the first time they cracked 1,000 units, as I understand it,
yes,
which is a significant increase on last year's sales this time.
So scary stat.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of things are contributing to this, but 77% more in this year than last year.
That's awesome. You know, I always say there's enough money under the sun. It's great when all the manufacturers are doing well. I personally believe we underperform in the South African market.
Yes.
I think we're good for a million units a year.
And by the way, that Bucky, we did a review on that Bucky, and that's by far our most viewed review on YouTube. I think it's almost touching on 50,000 views now.
Yeah, incredible, isn't it? Eh?
Got a lot of attention from the Indian market.
Yes,
in India.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, so listen, very interesting. Well done, Mahindra. We are proud of you guys, and I think we need more of those record months.
For sure.
Okay, now a very interesting story that came up the last week. Changing the speed limit. What is this about? Pete?
Yeah, look, you know, they talk about the high death toll, and we do have a high death toll.
Yes,
I mean, we
we've discussed that quite a bit.
More fatalities annually than both Iraqi wars combined. I'm not sure if speed's the problem. You know, I think it's more that we don't have any policing of moving violations.
Yes.
Police are sitting behind trees. And we just don't have discipline on the roads. For me, speed's going to have no impact in reducing.
I completely agree with you.
And the other thing is this is causing a lot more accidents than speed itself.
Yeah. Well, the proposal is that they would lower the 60 kilometers per hour limit down to 50, the 120 down to 110. And I honestly can't believe and see how that's going to make a difference because nobody adheres to the speed limit at the moment.
Look, in the suburban areas, I'm all for dropping the speed limits. But on the highways, I don't think it's going to make an iota of a difference.
Yeah. All right. The last story for tonight, and something that's very dear to my heart. And when I saw this, I felt warm all over. Lamborghini says that they have a plan to keep combustion engines alive after 2030.
Well, of course, this ties in with F1's philosophy. They reckon they will always be internal combustion engines, and it's going to be because of biofuels. But I've got to say, I read an article recently where there was a 30-year study that was done that actually revealed that ethanol, which is a biofuel,
yes,
and 20% of all fuel in America has to be ethanol.
Yeah.
And all their race series run on ethanol. They've shown it to be that it produces double the amount of CO2s compared to its fossil fuel equivalent. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, so Lamborghini says that they obviously going to try and extend for as long as possible. Obviously, there's a ban coming up in 2035.
Yeah.
So that's what they want to stop all internal combustion engines in Europe. They say they're going to try and keep it alive by using synthetic fuels.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other opportunity, of course, which I really wish the manufacturers would start pursuing, is to use hydrogen.
Yeah.
So, then we can have big, V12 engines again, because the byproduct of that is just water.
Yeah. Interesting. I actually saw an interview with Elon Musk today.
Okay.
Back when he started Tesla, and the interview asked him his thoughts on hydrogen, and he said hydrogen sucks. That's what he said.
Well, it's funny he says that then, but he's now seriously looking at fuel cell technology.
Yeah.
And that uses hydrogen.
Fritz says carburetors suck and turbos blow. Thanks, Fritz, for joining in on the conversation. Well done. Like it. All right, guys, I see that there's a lot of people online. Thank you very much for joining us. Interact with us. Give us a thumbs up, give us a like, give us a share, and please communicate with us. We want to, if you have, this is Professor Peter for you. If you have any questions about anything automotive related, you can ask this oak. He knows basically everything. He even told us that Lamborghini Countach means, what was it?
Holy cow.
Holy cow. Holy cow. Did you know that? I didn't know that because it's absolute bullshit. But anyway, all right. So everybody ready? And now my highlight for this evening. This is time for our guest of the week. Freddie van Eyck, thank you very much for joining us on Let's Talk Automotive.
Thank you very much.
So let me tell you the story, guys. We were down in the Western Cape and completely, not my plan. Obviously, we're riding. I never know where I am when I'm riding with Pierre. So we're riding, I don't know the Western Cape. It was my first proper trip down there. And we end up at the Bike Forge and I meet Freddie. And he left such a lasting impression that I phoned him the next day and I said, listen, Freddie, I would like you to be on the show. Thank you very much for joining us, Freddie.
Absolute pleasure.
So if you guys are into bikes, Pete, and Peter and myself are both into bikes. Peter races bikes at the moment. Freddie, you've raced lots of bikes. I think let's start with a little bit of history on you. Let's tell the guests and viewers a little bit about your history.
Well, my history started, I suppose the interest in bikes started from my grandfather and my father. I never knew them as active bikers, but the stories intrigued me. And I've always loved bikes. I started actively riding bikes at the age of before 16, and I've never been without a bike. That's about 45 years. I've tried everything. I've tried different genres. I love bikes. It's an absolute lifelong love story. So, the Bike Forge and how I got involved with the older bikes, with technology changing and new bikes coming, you see a bike and you want to buy it. You buy it and then the next one comes and you always lose money. So that wasn't sustainable, and I thought, how can I continue doing this because I like it and not lose money? And I realized that with the classic bikes it's possible. And that's where it started about 17, 18 years ago. I lived in Ceres at the time. I had a garages all over town with bikes stashed in it. And I moved to Tilbach and I decided I wanted to find a place where I can have them all together and work on them. And eventually I found a place in Gouda. The short version is my son-in-law came and he said, you can't work on bikes without a beer. And then the next time he said, you can't work on bikes with a warm beer, so the fridge came.
Okay.
And then for effect, I bought a bar counter, and so the thing grew. It's never planned. Eventually, we outgrew Gouda, and I found the current location, which is on an estate outside Tilbach, and disused wine estate, and it lends itself perfectly to what we're doing.
Yeah, there's a picture of the Bike Forge, and like I said, we spent some time there with you, and you took us through you know, the setup and the museum part of it, and just Pete, what a place. You need to, when you ever down there, you need to get down to this
Well,
place.
luckily I go down to the Cape quite often. So, and we, you know, when I was looking at the website, or the Facebook page in particular,
Yeah.
I made a personal decision. I'm going to go visit there for absolute sure. But Freddie, I've got a question for you. We had a guest on a year ago, if not even longer, Dietmar, and he's a bike collector, and he had 80 odd bikes, I think, in his collection. So I suppose the $1 million question is, how many bikes have you got in your collection now?
Yeah, I'm just a little drop in the ocean. I have about 45 bikes.
Oh, sure.
I know guys with double that, triple that, so I don't consider myself a big league, but what I have I love, and I've chosen them very carefully, and I've certain criteria that I use when I buy a bike. It's just been very good. Biking has been very good to me. The people I meet in the genre of biking, people are incredible. The people I've met since I've opened Bike Forge is amazing. It's like just one big family, and the support was amazing as well.
That's exactly my point, is that we met up with you and you know, spent some time with you, and your passion for bikes, and that's what I like about and love about biking, is that you know, we can rock up at a guy, we've never seen each other, and we just had this amazing connection. And you know, one of the things that Freddie told me just before we left is that one of his biggest dreams is that he wants to carry forward with this classic bikes, and he wants to teach and educate youngsters how to work on these bikes, and because one day when he's gone, who's going to work on them?
Well, you can certainly see the passion. There's also a serious degree of sense of humor. I mean, one of the pictures on the Facebook page is, he who is without oil shall throw the first rod, and that's from Compressions 8.7 to 1. Love it. But I've got another question, Freddie. Fritz, I don't know if you've got the pictures up, but you've got on one of your posts, you've got a picture of a 1973 Ducati 450 Desmo MK3. There it is. And compared to a 1989 500cc Galera. And I mean, you were saying that in relatively short period of time, the increase in technology astounded you. But there was also a comment that somebody put on that they said that it also seemed to tie in with kind of a real ramp up in the price of bikes, and that may have also kind of represented the death of club bike racing.
Yes, that comment was made by an ex-Navy friend of mine, Dave Johnson, that used to race nationals as well. And we've known each other forever. And it was very correct. Around about 1985, when the first real race replica bikes came out, like the GSXR 750, the Slabby as we know it, I remember clearly how the prices went up more than double.
Sure.
I mean, I bought a Katana in 82 for 4,500 rands, and I think when the Slabby came out, it was 15,000.
Sure.
It's unheard of. And the technology from there just ran away with it. So that was the death of the classic bikes.
We've got a question here from Nadia Skalson, and this is my wife, so that everybody understands where this comment's coming from. Nadia wants to know which bike in your collection is the most expensive, and also which is your most favorite and why.
Yeah, you know, the pricing on these classic bikes are very objective. I study the markets. Obviously, I must know, the value of what I'm buying. I've just finished a project of a Suzuki 1976 GT750. It was a 3-year project. A lot of money gone into it.
Yeah, we've got some pictures. We've got some pictures up of that. So why don't you tell us about this project while we're talking about it?
That bike, that's the side cover as I got it on the donor bike. I remember that picture.
Yes.
A chap phoned me and he said, "Here's this bike. It's complete. It's got everything. There it is. Everything's there, but it's just looks terrible." And I started stripping there. I was busy removing the engine. And that, I don't restore these things myself. I have a vision, I have the knowledge, and I project manage it, but I don't have the skills to do these individual things. So I have this group of guys that I know how good they are in specific areas like mechanical or spray painting, and I farm the work out and I put it back together. That tank was sprayed by a guy that restores Rolls Royces. The pinstriping there was actually sprayed in. It's absolutely amazing job. The motor was built by Wesley Jones. Some people know him. He was a local racer. He's now in New Zealand. Nuts and bolts. It took 11 months to build that engine, from the crank pins up. I sat nights on the internet looking web literally. But
Yeah,
it was worth every cent.
you told me a story about even the detail going into the stickers. If to make sure that this bike is absolutely authentic and original, to get all the stickers, even the stickers under the seat, the rubber that holds the battery. I promise you, I've got goosebumps just talking about that bike. The final product, Fritz has got a picture of it. Just look at that bike, Peter.
Wow.
It looks like it came off the assembly line.
It actually looks brand spanking new.
It's amazing.
Wow. And tell me, Freddie, have some of the manufacturers approached you to put these bikes on display?
No, not really. There was a chap from Ride Fast magazine. He contacted me and he wanted to do an article on the bike. It hasn't happened yet, but no. But I want to go back to your wife's question.
Yes.
It's
She's
really
just
about
worried.
super bikes.
She's worried that I'm going to spend a lot of money on classic bikes. That's why she wants to know what she's in for.
You know what? I had a discussion with a friend of mine this morning. He just bought a classic bike. And I said to him, you have buyer's remorse. Once you press that button, it says pay. You have buyer's remorse for about 3 weeks. And you do a lot of soul searching and introspection. And you realize that you haven't drunken the money out. You haven't gone on a holiday. It's actually a physical asset that's standing there. And if you know what you're doing, it actually grows in value all the time. So you can't go wrong.
Thank you very much for saying that on live, on air, so that my wife understands why I'm going to start buying classic bikes now. Your favorite bike? Your favorite bike, Freddie? Is there one?
Bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the 900 Ducati Bevel that I've got. I think it's a serene bike to ride. It's just so different. It's unfair to compare these bikes with modern bikes. There's no substitute for technology. I'm the first person to admit that.
Yeah.
But when you ride that bike, I have a very personal relationship with every bike I have, and they talk to you, and you feel it, and it has character when you ride it, and that bike just does it for me. But I have a Bimotor as well, which is an evil bike. It's an 82 model. With a 1000cc Suzuki, the SP4, and the motor's been worked on. That thing is also just on another level. But all in all, I like that Ducati 900 business.
Okay, cool. We've got another question here from one of our viewers, and Miranda is actually down there in the Western Cape as well. She says, do you ride adventure bikes also? I see only road bikes, or with your 40 plus collection, can we probably not see it? And I can vouch for this. Yes, you do some adventure riding, hey, Freddie?
Yes, I do. I started off road riding, and when I moved to series, I once went to see clients in Cedarburg, and I realized the amazing roads that you'll never ever see on a road bike. And 80% of our roads in this country are gravel roads, so it's inaccessible for a road bike. So I bought an adventure bike straight away. And I still have I have a 1200 GS.
Yeah.
There's two 650 GSs. And we've gone through Namibia, we've gone through the entire Karoo. We love adventure riding. It's absolutely amazing. I'm not a technical rider. I ride to see and discover new places, and I love it. But at the end of the day, in my heart, I'm a road rider.
Okay. Well, that's well said. That's well said. Like Peter. Peter doesn't want to go off-road at all because every time he's ever been off-road, he's fallen. He's fallen. But that's part of the game.
Blame speed. Blame speed. It's the only reason why you fall off your bike. The speed is wrong for the conditions
For
you're
the
riding.
yeah. Listen, I've got. I want to go back to the photo that was on with the 4 bikes, Fritz, with the BMWs there in the corner. The 4 bikes, if you can go back, because there was a very nice story. Freddie, can you tell us the story about the design here? Because you've got the concept pictures of the bikes there on the wall, which not a lot of people have.
When I take people through the store there, I always say this is my party trick. Those 4 bikes were all designed by Smith, and the one on the far right is the R90S. One Smith was told to, he was working as a designer for BMW. He was told to make a bike that's more sporty and to get away from the traffic cop image. So he designed the R90S, and that bike is amazing. It's very fast for a 1974 bike, 200 kilometers an hour.
And it's in amazing condition.
Yeah, it won Daytona in 1976, and as a result, the Yanks love it. But what few people know is that in the same year, it came from Man.
At the
in
Isle of Man.
1976, it beat the Kawasaki's at the time.
Wow.
But there's a reason. They had an extra lap, so because it's more fuel efficient.
Sure.
It actually won. Okay, then the one next to it is the R100 RS. Then the one next to the R100 RS is the R65.
And that R65 has got a very similar look to the one next to it on the left, eh?
Correct. BMW's brief was build a bike for the youngsters, and he did that, but he never finished it. That bike always seems to me to be unfinished, although it's a lovely bike to ride. Yeah. But he went to Suzuki and he said to them, when he left BMW, he got a Porsche designer to join him in Target, and they designed the Katana. And I mean, that was a success story from the all the things he didn't do on the R65, he put on the Katana, and it's an iconic one.
Yeah. Mm. Well, do you have another question? You've got a couple of questions.
Yeah. So, again, going through your Facebook page, obviously you're a huge Rossi fan. Now that he's gone, who do you see as the sort of the rightful heir to the throne, so to speak?
There's a guy coming up the ranks that impresses me immensely, is that Bastianini. Mm-hmm. That he could get a podium on a 2-year-old bike is amazing. Yeah. I like him. He's the guy to watch.
Okay, that's very nice. Nice. It's almost like a inside tip, that. Mm. Yeah. Mm. And your thoughts on Marquez this season coming back?
I think with the advance of the youngsters, he's had a setback. Look, the guy can ride the wheels of any bike, but he's had a setback, and even 2 years is too long. The guys have caught up with him. The Quattararos, he's going to battle to beat those guys.
Yeah.
I think really, I mean, he's good. There's no doubt about it. But he should also maybe just hang his gloves up.
Interesting. I saw an article today where he said that retiring was definitely an option, and that last year was obviously the lowest low that he's ever had. I want to get back to Bike Forge. I want to talk about your venue. I want to talk about what happens there. So is it open every day of the week? Can people just rock up there, or how does it work?
Well, Bike Forge, I started it off being open only on Saturdays and Sundays. I try and do an honest day's work in the week as well, but I'm starting to enjoy the Bike Forge so much and working on my bike so much that I spend more time there. So my office is at home at the Bike Forge, and I'm around. If I'm not traveling, I'm there. So people often just knock on the door. I get retired guys coming all the time during the week, and I'll just drop my pins and I help them and I make coffee for them and have a chat. We've started doing Friday evenings now as well, happy hours. We love music. We built a stage, and we having a lot of music concerts at the Forge as well. Like tomorrow evening, we've got a band playing again. We do functions primarily. That's what I wanted to do, but I've been supported so well by everybody. People come from far, and but we do functions where we will hire the place out exclusively for wedding. We had a funeral of a friend of mine, a service for him. He passed away on a bike outside Sutherland, And 6 months later, we took his ashes and we fired it off in a 2-pound black powder cannon into the forest. I've actually got a video of it. His wife lit the fuse, or his widow lit the fuse.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you know the Gonzo Papers, he was also, Hunter S. Thompson was also fired off in a cannon at the White House. And that's where I got the inspiration from.
Sure.
But we do various things. We innings, spit prize, anything.
My wife will just fire a cannon at me.
Listen, Freddie, I honestly cannot explain this in any other better way than to say thank you so much for what you're doing for biking in South Africa. I'm actually ashamed to say that I didn't know about you before we met you. But trust me when I say that I'll be back there with my friends and my mates, and Peter and I will definitely come and make a turn when we're down there again.
For absolute sure. I mean,
You guys are always welcome.
you were very, very excited when you
Always
got back.
welcome.
First thing that Fani told me about was Bike Forge and what you're doing. So yeah.
I've got one last thing that I want to talk about. One of the bikes there that was in the background, there was a Honda. It was the old MotoGP type bikes. I think it was a 125cc 2-stroke, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct. Yes,
What is the story on that bike?
I was
Is
in
it not the
Spain
one?
in 20.
Is it the one behind?
It is the one in the
Yes,
background,
it's the
yes.
one in the background. Yes.
It's a RS125, an 89 model. It's a proper little GP bike. They preceded the Moto 3s. I was in Spain and I didn't plan it, but there was a GP at Catalonia, and I went to watch, and it was the last year they rode the 2-strokes, these little babies.
Sure.
And I realized that this is an opportunity for an investment. So when I came back, I searched and I found this bike, and it's beautiful. I think the build quality on that thing is amazing. Everything, even the frame builder's initials are stamped on the frame. That bike weighs under 60 kilos.
Yes.
It's very, very beautiful. Yeah,
I think I also
it's a
saw
very
that
special
on
bike.
I think I also saw that on the Facebook page. That's got a top speed of 230 kilometers an hour, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, depending on the size of the guy riding it, you know.
Like I said, with Fani, it's not going to be.
Yeah.
That's incredible for a little
bike.
125.
It's
230
insane.
kilometers an
It's
hour.
insane.
Sure.
Freddie, thank you so much for joining us on Let's Talk Automotive. The interview part of your show is over now, but now we're going to get to have some fun with Pete at Peter's expense. So, ladies and
Hopefully
gentlemen,
not blind screen.
I doubt it.
ladies and gentlemen, this is also where you guys can now play along. So, right after this, it's game time. Okay, so game time works like this, guys. I'm going to explain it to you, the guys at home as well, who's joining us for the first time. We are going to show you a partial picture of a motorcycle today, obviously. And then you have to guess the bike. Okay, we've got a little bit of a delay. So Peter's also going to watch on his computer and not on the screen that's in studio, so that it's fair. So you guys will see the pictures at the same time. If you recognize the bike, shout your name and then I'll come to you. But if you don't shout your name, I'm going to deduct points, okay? So make sure if you recognize the bike, shout your name. I'm going to come to you. Best out of 7 win. The guys at home, you guys can also play along. Just give your answers in the comments below the video. Are you guys ready to go?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Here comes number 1. Well done.
Peter, Honda.
Well, let's just make sure that we don't. Maybe we should show them the partial picture of the bike first. Anybody wants to guess? Anybody wants to guess what that bike is?
Boy.
Okay, I'm going to give you guys each half a point because Fritz is generous tonight. Okay.
Thank you.
So Peter's got half a point and that's probably where it's going to stay. Mario says CB1000. No, man. We showed you the picture of the bike. You got it wrong. Holy moly. How's about that? Okay, are you guys ready? Let's see. Fritz, are you ready? Okay, Fritz is ready. Here comes number 2.
He was.
Freddie,
you are going to be so loved right now. What is that?
it's a Kawasaki Z, either 1,000 or 900.
Absolutely correct. Just by looking at the exhaust, you got it right. Well done, Freddie. Beautiful bike. Okay, so 1.5 to half a point. Marius is obviously now left the building. Randa got that one. She said Suzuki. Unfortunately not. But here comes number 3, guys. Are you ready? Here's number 3.
Peter.
Freddie.
Okay, so Peter got that one first, but this is an easy one.
Yeah, well, it's obviously a BMW.
Okay, yes, so you got half a point.
And because I'm a dodgy character, I know that is an R69.
Is he correct, Freddie? Is it an R69?
Yes.
Okay, so Peter is very dodgy. He's got it. He just recognized it because it had 69 in the name.
Exactly.
Yo, that's an unbelievable bike.
Sure.
Do you have any of those in your collection?
I've got a similar one, but the R52.
Okay. Wow. Okay, so it's all tied up again. Here comes number 4.
Oh, Peter.
Okay, you guys were very, very close. It was very close. Fritz has said Freddie took it, so I'm going to come to you, Freddie. What is that?
It could either be a Harley Davidson or an Indian valve.
Yes, you've got. Did you say Indian?
Yes.
Yes, you are correct.
They're very similar.
They are very similar.
Well,
Indian.
you would have got the point in any case because I was going with Harley.
You were going with Harley because of the engine.
Yeah.
So that's the Indian chief. So I'm going to give that to Freddie. Well done. So now it's 2.5 to 1.5. And we are going into number 5 now. What's happening online here? Are you guys still there?
We had Marius Langer saying Indian.
Here is number 5.
Freddie.
That must be a Harley.
Yo, Freddie, I'm going to come to you.
Yeah, that's a knucklehead Harley.
A knucklehead, Harley.
Nogal.
The nogal, né? Well done. Look at how similar those two bikes are.
Yeah.
Very similar.
It's your favorite seat, Fonny.
That's over at Cam where the other one was the side valve. You see the push rods on the side.
Can you? So now you're even getting a lesson on bikes.
Sure, as usual.
Okay, 2 to go. Miranda says, make it easier, man. Show us a hairdryer. No, Miranda. This is about bikes. Okay, Freddie, it's all going according to plan. Number 6 is coming up.
Freddie,
if you get this right, I'm going to be super impressed. What is that?
that's a Vincent.
How do you know that? You are right. That's the Black Shadow.
Yes.
Just by
Yeah,
looking
look
at
at
the
the-
black fender.
Look at the single shot. That bike was so advanced in its day. It's unbelievable.
Yo.
But it's also a beaut, eh?
Yeah, it's a beaut. Okay, so 4.5. 4.5. Mario says that's some postkantoor bike.
If only.
They would have enjoyed that, yeah. Corin van Tonde, thank you very much for joining us. You are just in time to see the last of game time where Freddie is absolutely annihilating Peter. And here comes number 7. Freddie, what is that?
It's a Honda CBX B model.
Absolutely correct. Peter, if I didn't give you the answer to number 3, you wouldn't have gotten anything. Listen, so Freddie, you are busy working on one of those, right?
No, I've got an A model, but the story is, it was a late friend of mine's bike, and I'm not going to, it's running, it's complete. I don't want to change it. There's a lot of nostalgia on it. So I'll just neaten it up a bit, but yeah, it's running and going well.
Amazing. All right, that brings us to the end of your time with us. Thank you so much, Freddie, for joining us. It was absolutely a privilege to have you. Thank you so much, and we'll definitely make sure to have you on the show again because we've got more to talk about.
Well, why don't we do an outside broadcast?
We do an outside broadcast from the Bike Forge. How's about that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We'll definitely do that. Thank you so much for joining us, Freddie.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
Awesome.
Thanks,
man.
Freddie. Take it easy.
Okay. Cheers.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, guys, the guys are busy working on their website, but follow them on Facebook, The Bike Forge. Absolutely a must-see if you're down in the Western Cape. Right, we are running out of time. We need to hurry this up. So next is our review. Our review on the BMW F850 GSA
Rallye.
Here you go.
Morning. Here we are. The last 3 days of an epic Kalahari trip. Wide open, fast sand tracks, which we didn't have the first part. It was very technical. This is almost like cheating now. It feels like cheating, because the things you've done with this F850 Rallye was spectacular. Yeah. Please, tell me, how do you... The first time we saw this at the studio, what was your first impression? So Pierre, I wanted to challenge myself and I wanted to prove a point. Yes, if that makes sense. It does. So obviously we were planning this Kalahari cruise for a long time. My personal bike is a GS12, the 1200 Adventure. And obviously, certain bikes are not made for certain types of conditions. Yes. But I want that's acceptable. That's totally acceptable.
Exactly.
And the sandy bits of what we were doing is probably where the GS Adventure, the 1200 that I have, wouldn't have been suited. So I decided to ask Benny Sturdy from BMW South Africa Motorrad if we could use the GS, the 850 Adventure Rallye Edition like I have right now, because I thought people would think that I'm a bit crazy, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
And I think that perception was definitely proven right when we arrived at the camp on the first night and the guys saw this big bike.
Did you truly feel that?
I definitely felt a little bit of a preconceived idea of what this bike would be able to do and not do.
But then just as an explanation, the guys that we're riding with are extremely experienced.
Extremely.
I'd say 3 of the top 20 adventure bikers in Southern Africa rode with us.
Absolutely.
That's the kind of level of talent that was here.
So let's start there and say that one of the things that I would have changed, and this was part of the plan, but unfortunately we ran out of time, is I wanted to get more familiar with the bike in the conditions that we are experiencing here. Go and test the bike in sandy conditions, for example. Yes, but unfortunately we ran out of time. Did some homework, did some research, thought we had everything under control. The first day went perfectly. I was very happy. We did some technical, routes up passes and all that sort of stuff. But then the Kalahari boys decided to take us into a riverbank just for a little bit of a lunch session. And the first sand that I hit, I unfortunately made the mistake of not turning off the traction control. So my settings were wrong. And because my settings were wrong, the bike didn't perform the way it should have. I struggled. I had to pick up the bike a bunch of times. And
needless to say, I was a bit negative, if I can call it that.
Yes. Who can blame you? I mean, people don't regularly use adventure bikes in the way that we have done in the last week.
Correct.
An adventure bike is, per definition, a multi-purpose tool. Not very good at most things, but very capable at almost all of them.
Yeah.
What people buy when they buy an adventure bike is they buy the concept that they can be adventurers.
Yes.
That they can tour the country and off the beaten track. But the reality is that 90% of the guys that are buying and the girls that are buying bikes take them very seldom take them off road. And
correct.
This trip we did the exact opposite.
Exactly. So, just by figuring out the electronics on the bike and getting the bike set up correctly, from the second day, it was a completely different tool. The bike was unbelievable. And as my confidence grew, we ended up doing on day 2 and 3 some of the toughest terrain and adventure riding that I think is possibly up in the Southern Africa environment.
That can be done in South Africa almost.
Correct.
I'll even go that far.
So, and this bike did everything that any KTM or Honda or any other brand could do. And I think that surprised a lot of people. It surprised me.
It's a perception that the hardcore adventure bike community has, that an 800 GS is firstly not the best GS. It's a step down from the 1250. And then the second perception is that because it's a BMW, it's not hard enough. It's not aggressive enough. It's not going to take the knocks as well as the other bikes. Was that what you found?
I've spent a lot of time on other adventure bikes, Pierre, and I can say that everything about this bike, now that I'm happy and I understand the electronics, I understand the setup of the bike, I'm extremely comfortable on the bike. I had an unbelievable time. Like I said, people don't understand. We didn't come out on an adventure ride like we're doing now. This is a normal dirt road. We went through places and passes and through riverbeds and over dunes, and people train for the Dakar Rally there.
Yes.
And we did that with this bike. That's unbelievable, man.
You did manage to go through some extremely thick sand, sea sand, fine kind of sand, extremely coarse, pebblish sand, all in riverbeds. Do you think there was shall we say, a growth in your experience level with this bike, that it actually showed you things that you never were able to do otherwise?
Absolutely. And I think that's a very important point to make here, Pierre, is that these bikes can probably all do it with the right confidence and with the right experience on top of it, if that makes sense.
It does, absolutely. How did you find the TFT display on the front of the bike? Because let's be honest, if you buy a bike like this, it's all about the electronics and the display. Well, not all about, but most of it. Did it manage itself? Was there a glitch in the dust? Because if there is ever a dust test, this was it.
Exactly. The display is very easy to handle. All the controls for everything I need is at my fingertips, and I can do everything I need on the fly. So I can change rider modes on the right-hand side here. I can change my menus and display on my left-hand side here. And everything, like I say, on the fly while we're riding. So, Pierre, I think it's time for me to end this review and say thank you very much to Penny. Thank you very much to BMW South Africa, the Motorrad team. The BMW did everything that it was supposed to do. We have nicknamed this bike Tank. Because
that's right.
It went through everything. It went over everything. It went through everything. It was just unbelievable. And if I had to give this bike a rating, I'm going to give it a proper 9 out of 10.
Are you serious?
Absolutely.
9 out of 10 is hectic, Fani.
It's an honest opinion, bro. I challenge anybody that disagrees with me to bring this bike to the Kalahari, come and test this bike in extreme off-road conditions, and tell me otherwise.
Thank you, Fani.
Wow!
That was cool, eh?
That was very cool. I've got to say, that is possibly one of the most entertaining reviews that this show's done. And if you don't hit 50,000 views on this, I'll be disappointed.
Listen, I want to say that when you lie in bed after a day of riding in the sand like that, when you close your eyes, the only thing you see is sand tracks like that. It's insane. But yeah, thank you very much to the guys from BMW Motorrad. It was absolutely unbelievable.
So tell me about the chopper.
I don't know if I can share this on air, but let me do this. So on the last day of riding in the Kalahari, I was riding and the guy said that we were traveling close to a military base. Okay, so and we're riding on dirt roads in sand, and as we do, the crew gets stretched out, and I was riding by myself. So I'm doing about 100 kilometers an hour on the dirt road, and the next moment, I hear machine gun shots being fired at me. And this is the honest truth. I hear machine gun shots, and I start looking around, and I can't see anybody on the ground. So I think the logical answer must be that there's a helicopter chasing me and shooting at me. I promise you. So I stand up. And I see that one of the spokes came loose and it's hitting the front fender as I'm driving, and it's making that noise. So that's the honest truth that happened. I thought that South African Defence was shooting at me with a helicopter from there.
That just made up for me losing so badly to Freddie.
All right, that brings us to the next segment. This segment is proudly brought to you by Suzuki Auto South Africa, and this is How Things Work.
Welcome to Let's Talk Automotive, and in this week's episode of How Things Work, we're going to have a look at one of my favorite turbos, which of course is the twin scroll turbo. Now, as we know, there is a big trend by the car manufacturers to move from larger capacity, normally aspirated, to smaller, sometimes more powerful, turbocharged engines. And this, of course, is in response to the extremely costly emissions taxes at play, especially in Europe. So while turbos offer us free forced induction, they do unfortunately have some challenges. And one of the traditional turbo challenges is, of course, turbo lag. Now, there are some very cool solutions, but possibly my favorite resides with the twin scroll turbo. Now, don't be confused by the name. Twin scroll does not mean it is a twin turbo. In fact, it is a single turbo with a very special twist. Now, to keep the turbo spinning consistently, the exhaust gases from the manifold are kept apart. And by separating the flow of exhaust gases, we prevent exhaust gases from one cylinder impeding the flow of exhaust gases from another cylinder. And this means the flow of the combined exhaust gases remains stronger and more consistent over the turbine. And combined with a technique called scavenging, this increases the effectiveness of the turbo by as much as 50%. So what's scavenging, you may ask? Well, it's an incredible bit of technology found on direct injection engines, which also have variable valve lift. And this allows for the intake and the exhaust valves to be open simultaneously, believe it or not, although only for an instant. And this maintains a consistent flow of gases onto the turbine blades, which means the turbo doesn't lose too much momentum, and by having a turbo that maintains momentum, we can now reduce the size of the turbo, which also adds to its drivability, as it doesn't take too much energy to spool it up initially. Now, I'm pretty sure that with the introduction of more and more direct injection engines with variable valve lift, we're going to see more twin scroll turbos making their way into cars, which is great news for me. So there you have it, the spectacular twin-scroll turbo. I hope that that explanation clarified any misconceptions you perhaps had about it. And we look forward to seeing you on future episodes of How Things Work.
It's pretty clever, eh?
Oh, I love it. It is
Just
so
makes no
genius.
sense that both valves can be open at the same time.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But they are, and that's what scavenges all the exhaust gases out of the cylinder, so it also creates an environment of very, very good combustion.
Amazing. There you have it. All right, guys, that brings us to the last segment of tonight. And now, all we want you to do is have a bit of a lach with us. Because when I saw this, keeping to the theme of motorcycles, and I saw this clip actually today because I was looking for something. And this is what happened. This is Tappet of the Week or Fun Time. So this is a New York police officer that's just confiscated that bike, and he should have maybe gone for lessons before.
Oh, yes! Oh, I felt that. I think
Okay,
his
they're
soul exited his body.
They're going to slow it down. So the first thing that I want you to make notice of is how high he bounced, okay? Let's just first check the bounce when they slow this down. That's the first thing that I want to check. Okay, so he's dropped the clutch and now his hand's on the handle, but no, he's got no clutch control. So that's the problem. Okay, so now let's check the bounce. Check the bounce, check the bounce. And boom! He got off the ground completely. Look at that. Amazing. That's a proper bounce. The second thing I want you to notice, because I've fallen quite a bit, is how quickly you can get up and just make as if nothing happened.
Yeah, he did that on purpose.
That's amazing. That was like a laugh, eh?
Proper. It's a bit like how I ride off-road bikes.
All right, guys, thank you very much for joining us. That brings us to the end of the show. If you like that BMW footage of the Kalahari, you can join us right now at 7 o'clock on YouTube, on the Footpeg Diaries channel, and you can watch the fourth part of that Kalahari cruise.
And what a brilliant series Footpeg Diaries has turned out to be.
Yeah, it's amazing. We're having lots of fun and riding bike and making some good TV, I think.
Unreal. And you're getting famous.
No, because I fall so much. All right, guys, that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you guys again same time, same place?
Yep.
Same time, same place?
Yeah, absolutely.
Next week, sometime? Okay, we'll see you then. Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.